Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Varun Tahin. So in the previous session, we have seen how to install Anaconda and get started with Jupyter Notebooks along with the markup text. So if you have not seen that video, I would seriously recommend to see that video to start with this session. I would like to point out at this stage, we will be focusing our minds on getting started with Python rather than going deeper into the complex concepts which we will be taking in the sessions alongside machine learning real-time scenarios, where I will be explaining in detail the complex operations in Python. So the agenda for today's session is we will start with Python introduction and then deep into the data structures of Python. So let's start. We'll create a notebook here. So I would like to start with an interesting fact about Python language origin. So this name Python is not named after snake actually. It is extracted from a British comedy series, Monty Python's Flying Circus, which was a kind of BBC serial from 1970s. And Guido van Rossum, who is Python's creator, he liked it very much, so he has named after that. I will tell you guys an exciting way of learning this concept of the programming language. So there is this poem called as Zen of Python. It is a beautiful poem that describes 19 guided principles for writing computer programs that influence the design of this programming language called Python. So software engineer Tim Peter wrote these set of principles. So if you go to your Jupyter notebook and type import this and press shift enter, so you can see this poem comes, which is called as Zen of Python with 19 guided principles. And this roughly tell you each of the concepts which is associated with Python and what all Python supports. So I would read some of the quotation here just to make it more understandable. Beautiful is better than ugly. That means that readable aspect of this language has been addressed quite well via the use of indentation rather than the braces used in the other language like Java or C. Explicit is better than implicit. Similarly, it is better for code to be verbose and explicit. So you should avoid hiding code's functionality behind the obscure language features. So that is what it means here, that it's better to be more explicit than implicit. Then simple is better than complex. That means that it is quite simple to learn as compared to other languages. And thereafter some other quotations which you will see and which you will observe while learning this language. So guys, Python is a high-level interpreted language with easy syntax, that it is readable, and dynamic semantics. By interpreted, we mean that it does not require a compiler and it is executed line by line without compiling the whole file first, unlike Java. So Java compiles the whole code and converts it into bytecode to run that. Now we will learn some of its important features. First of which is simplicity. So it is simple to understand and readable too, as it is using indentation rather than braces, unlike other languages. Then it is open source so that anybody can develop and contribute to Python community and can change the Python code as per their needs. It is also portable. We can run the program in one machine and expect the same output to come if we run it on the other machine. One of its features is embeddable and extensible also. That means that it has other languages support also, just like Java and C. It is interpretable also. That means memory management and garbage collection is very good in Python. And it has a vast library support. So it has support for machine learning libraries, GUI applications, image processing, web scraping, test frameworks, multimedia and scientific computing libraries also. And last but not the least, it supports OOPS concepts also. So that is object-oriented programming concepts also. So we can model real-time scenarios by creating objects in it. And I would like to point out that Python language is being used by almost all tech giant companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Instagram, Dropbox, Uber, and also NASA. So guys, now we will start with the data structures in Python. So data structures refers to the collection of group of data in a particular structure, and we can store those data in a particular format and retrieve as per our convenience. Okay, so there are many data structures in particular, but we will be talking about the most prominent ones here, which are list, tuples, dictionary, and sets. Let us start. So I'll give a heading here. Structures. Press enter. So we'll be seeing the list first. Let us write here. Again, heading. list. Okay. So list is nothing but it is the most commonly used data structure. Think of it as a sequence of data that is enclosed in square brackets and the data are separated by comma. So each of these data can be accessed calling its index value. So let's create one list and show you how it looks like. So these are the elements in it, first, second, and third. If you want to print this list, you will simply say print L. So this is our first list. Identically, we can make another list also. So say another list equals to, and it can have heterogeneous elements also in it. So it can have both the elements of the first list, which are strings, as well as numbers also. Okay, so if we print it, you guys will see that it won't have any error. Okay, so we can even do certain computations like extending the list, then appending in it, then doing certain operations on top of the existing elements. So let me show you some of the operations. So let's say that there is my list is one of the list which has elements 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and we want to extend this list and have a list with the elements repeated 3 times. So we want to repeat 1, 2, 3, 4 3 times in a list. Okay, so unlike other languages, Python gives us flexibility to operate on a list by simply giving the name of the list and the number of times you want to repeat that. So if you just print this, you can check the output. So this list is repeated 3 times under that list. So like that, you can create as many as you want. And if you want to retrieve a kind of element inside a list, or if you want to assign a list, it can be done via indexing. So via indexing, we can do that. We can change a list, we can retrieve an element from a list. So let's say that we want to retrieve the second position in a list. So guys, remember that list starts from 0th index. So in this case, first is the 0th index, second is the first index, third is the second index here, and likewise. So we'll try and get the second index from my list. So let's do that. So guys can see that second element is 0, 1, 2. So this is the element which is returned, which is correct. And we can even change the element in that particular list by the same operation we did before and assigning a value to it. Let's say that we want to change 3 to 5. So you can simply do that by indexing. Okay, and we can print this. So guys, see that the third element is changed to 5 now instead of 3. Let's move on to the next operation, which is append. So let me append the element into the first list, which is L. If you want to see here what it returns, you guys can also do that and print this. You guys can see that it will return a null value. Okay, so null represents none in Python, so it will return a none value. Okay, so there is one more operation that we can do here, that is extend. So extend we use when we want to combine two lists, or we want to combine the elements of the two lists. So let's say that we have one list L1 equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, another list as L2 which has 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we want to combine these, so we'll say L1 dot extends L2. Okay, and we will print L1. So see, the first list has appended the second list in it. So only the elements in it are appended here and not the whole list like we have done here. So this is another operation we can do here. So let me ask you one question here. So let's say that we have a list equals to 1, 2, 3. Okay, and there is a second list, list 2, which is equals list 1. Okay, so the above code creates two different references named list 1 and list 2 to the same value 1, 2, 3. Now I will give you a hint. See, lists are mutable here, so changing them can have different side effects on other variables also. So if we append something to the list 1, let's say, what will happen to list 2? So this is your exercise. Guys, please try this out and let me know the output in the comment section. So let's say that we will have L1 dot append 4 and we will print out this. So this is the output of the first one. So I'm asking you the output of the list 2. So just comment here in the comment section and we'll declare the results afterwards. So there are these other methods that we can do here with the list. So let us create one more list just for the CRUD operations, identical to what we have in database. So let's have 2 4s in this list. And so if we want to insert any element in a list in a particular position, let's say that we want to insert 10 on 0th in location. So what we can do is L1 dot insert, and you can give the index location as 0 and give the element to be inserted. So if I fire this and if I see, L1 will be having 10th at the 0th location, that is the first index. So now we can do pop operation also. So pop, as the name suggests, it will pop out the last element from the list. So if I say dot pop, it will give me 6, that is the last element. So likewise, we can delete also a certain element from a list using the index value. And let's say that we want to remove the 0th index. So what we'll specify in the square bracket is del L1 0. So if we see here, L1 will now have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5 and 10 is removed from the list. Then we can also reverse the list using reverse function. So if I reverse this, guys, remember that this will always return a none, so you don't need to assign it to something or L1. You just need to use L1 as is. So you can see that this list has been reversed. So 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. We can also sort it by a single sort using a sort function, L1 dot sort. This will sort the list. You can print and see that this has again sorted the list now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. We can also count the number of elements, or basically a single element in a list. So that can be done using count function, the particular value. Let's say 4 is repeated here, so we want to find how many 4 elements are there in this list. So there are 2. Also we can remove any element by specifying the value. So let's say that L1 dot remove is the function name, and we can give here 1. So let's say we want to remove 1 from this list, so it will remove it, and L1 now will have 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. So guys, remember this point, that it will not remove the numbers which are duplicate in the list. It will only remove the first index which is occurring here. So if you want to remove this, it will only remove the first index. So you guys can see that only 1 4 is removed and the other 4 remains in the list. So guys, at this stage, let me introduce the concept of states and identities. So the state of a variable is different from its identity. You must remember that. To compare two variables, this is really important in Python. And to compare the state, we use equals operator. that is double equals, which is used in many languages. So this is for the state and is used to compare the identity of it. So guys, remember this always. So when we compare identity, we check equality of references, and when we compare the state, we check equality of values. Let me give you an example of it. Let's say that x is equals to 1, 2. So this is the list. Another list is y equals only 1. Okay, and if I do y dot append to, okay, and we'll check x double equals y. Let me know in the comment section what will come, or you can pause the video and check by yourself, and then you can see the video. So guys, this will give me true because both of the values in the list are equal now, as we have appended 2 in the y list. So guys, let's move on to the next topic, which is list slicing. So indexing was only to limit the accessing a single element, and slicing on the other hand is accessing a sequence of data inside the list. So in other words, slicing a list. So slicing is done by defining the index value of the first element and then last element from the parent list that it is required to slice. So let me give you an example of it. So let's say that we have a list here called as num range, which has number starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So 10 elements in total. We'll try and print it. Okay, so and we want to slice some of the elements, giving the start position and the end position of it. So let us do that. Let me write print num underscore range, and let's say that we want to slice starting from 0th position and all the way up to 3rd position. Okay, so we have to give the first element where we want to slice from, and we have to give the element which we have to exclude, from which we have to exclude. So guys, remember this second parameter that we give here is the exclusion part, and this is the inclusion part here. So if I print this, it will only give me 0, 1, 2, 3, and it will exclude the 4th index, which is 4. So likewise, if I print num underscore range and will only give 4 colon, so this means that it will start picking the numbers from 4th index, which is 4, and all the way up to the last index of the list, which is 9. So all the elements from the list will be sliced. Then we will check how best we can implement these concepts in our normal programming language, which will shorten our way of logic and also give us the liberty of writing a readable code. So let's say that we want to print only odd numbers or only even numbers from this set. So let us try and do that. So this will be the first index for you in case of printing the odd numbers, and it will be all the way up to the end. And there is also a step function. So this :2 will give us the liberty of skipping some elements in between. So it will always alternatively take the elements. It will start taking the elements from 1 and then 3 and then 5 and then 7 and then 9. So let's see what it gives us. So exactly, it gives us the odd numbers from the list. Likewise, we can print the even numbers also by num underscore range 2 colon 2. So this will start the indexing from the second element, and it will go up to the last, and it will start alternating the elements in the list. So these are even elements. So guys, there are functions to find out the maximum and minimum elements from the list, and those are max and min. So how do we use it? It's like max as a function, then num range, which will give 9, which is the highest element in this list, and then min, so which will have the lowest element as 0. Now we'll move on and check how does these functions behave when we give string into the list. So let's say that we have a list called mlist equals with some random strings. Okay, and we'll try to print its maximum and minimum value. So you guys can see that it will basically return string element whose ASCII value is highest, and minimum would return the element whose ASCII value is the lowest in this. So in this, Z comes after D and B, so the ASCII value of it is higher. So that is the reason these outputs are returned. So there can be scenarios where we want to return the maximum and minimum based on the length of the string when the list is all strings. So in those cases, what we can do is we can create a list of string here, fill in some elements, and to find the maximum and minimum, what we do is we give max names, comma, and specify a key with the value as len. So what it will do is it will give us the element which has the longest character set, and likewise we can do it for minimum also. Okay, so here is 3 elements long and water is 5 elements long, so water is returned in the max and air is in the minimum. Clear? So there's an interesting function here which can convert a string into a list. So let's check. So if we give list as a function and give journey to the core, so you can see here it is all converted per character, and you'll also see some spaces in between. Okay, so this way you can convert a string into a list, each character. Also, let's try using split, which splits a string on the basis of spaces. So let's say test underscore string equals, I will now convert this into a list. Okay, and use split function on top of it. Second, sorry. Okay, so it has split it on the basis of spaces. So default it will take as a space, and if you want to split by any other character, you can do that also. So what we'll do now is we'll try an interesting exercise here. So we'll say string to split, okay, and give some sentence delimited by dots. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll try and split on the basis of dots. And assign it to any variable. Okay, now if you see this variable, it will have all the single words because we have already split it via the periods. Now if you want to join this back using space, what we can do here is you to str to join. You can give this the space, do dot join and give this, okay, and then print this. Okay, so this has again joined by using spaces. So now I have a question for you guys where you need to see how you'll implement this kind of scenario. So you have a list of usernames hard coded here, which has Mohan, Federico, Parvati, and Jason as string elements. And what you need to do is you need to take an input from a user as an email address, and you need to extract username from that, and you need to check from this list whether those username are present or not and return a true or false. So that is an exercise for you guys. So you can try it and you can comment it below in the comment section. What all are your answers and your program? So guys, we will move on to another data structures in the Python, which is known as tuples. So I will give you a brief overview over tuples. So tuples are another way to combine different values, and the combined values can be of different types. So they can be heterogeneous values containing string and both integers. And like list, they have well-defined ordering also and can be indexed. And to create a tuple in Python, we use round brackets instead of the square brackets which we use in lists. So let's start with creating our first tuple here. So as I already told you that it is used using a round bracket, and we can have multiple types of variables in it. Okay, so if we print here first tuple, so you can see it is identical here. It has round brackets, and to access the elements in it, we will use the index. Okay, so and to check its type, we will basically use type here. So you guys can see this is of the class tuple. Okay, and there is an interesting fact about tuple. So it's an immutable. So once we have created a tuple, we cannot add values to it. You can verify this very truth by trying to append a value to it. Okay, and it will start giving an error that tuple object has no attribute append. It basically says that you cannot modify it once created. Okay, so tuples are similar to list, but the big difference is that element inside the list can be changed, but in the tuple it cannot be changed. So think of tuples as something which has to be true for a particular something and cannot be true for no other values. So for better understanding of tuples, we'll use a real life scenario. So let's say that x, y, z is a variable, and we are dividing 10 by 3, and there is a div mod function here which will give us the quotient and the remainder. Okay, and we'll try and print this. Okay, so you guys can see this is returned as a tuple. If you want to confirm it, you can again do type here and do xyz. Okay, so here the quotient is 3 and the remainder is 1. So this is the known truth, and these value cannot be changed whatsoever. So hence div mode returns these value in a tuple. So if you want to directly declare a tuple, it can be done by using comma at the end of the data. So we can give an example like this. So see, it has already converted to tuple, and if I do 22 into 24 comma, so this you can see that 24 when multiplied by 2 will yield 48, but when multiplied with this tuple, the data is repeated twice. Say that values can be assigned while declaring a tuple also. So it takes a list as an input and it converts it into a tuple, or it takes a string also and it converts it into a tuple. So we can see some of the examples. So if I give a tuple here and give a list inside it, 1, 2, 3 as value, and print it. So see, it has converted this to tuple. Then if I do tuple hello, so it has segregated this per character, and it has stored it in a tuple. So we can do a slicing also in tuple as we did for the list above. So that can be done using the similar fashion syntax. Let's say that we want to have the first element in it. So here top 3 has 1, 2 and 3, so it will fetch 0 and 2, so 0 and 1. So the first index is 2, so it has returned 2. And if you want to slice it, let's say 1. So you can see here from 0, and it has taken the element, so the index 0, that is 1, and excluding the second part, that is 1. So it has only taken the first element. So if we give here 2, two elements will come, 1 and 2. So there are some built-in tuple functions also which we can use, one of which is count. Okay, and what we have to do is we have to give one element in it, and it will count that. So let's say that we have here 2 ones, so it will basically give the count of 1 as 2, as 2 ones are there in this tuple. And then it can find the index also using the index function. Okay, so if you want to find an index of 3, you can simply say index 3. So 0, 1, 2. So it has returned 2. So guys, next we will see how to work with dictionaries. Okay, so dictionaries are nothing but key value pairs where keys are unique, and hence we cannot have two similar keys, and value can be same though. So for two keys they can be same values also. So let's start. I'll tell you the syntax of it. So we are creating a dictionary for the code, state code, and the full name. So Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So from which the TN is the key for it, and Tamil Nadu is the value of it. Okay, so these are separated via colons, key and values. Once we create this, we'll see it comes. It's come in this format. Okay, so to access the values in the dictionary, we have to access it via keys. So we need to use capitals and then KAR. So that will give us Karnataka. And let's say that we want to add any other key and value pair in the dictionary. So what we do is we'll create another key here saying RAJ equals to Rajasthan. Okay, and we'll print it. So this will get added to the dictionary. So there is one function called as length that gives us the length of the keys. So how many keys are there, it will tell us. So here in this you can see that 3 pairs of key values are there. So it will count the keys and return the length of it. Okay, now when you want to append some value, you need to have a unique key every time. If you'll try and mention the same key here, what it will do is it will override the value. Let's say that we have KARS. Okay, and we try and print this. So you have seen that the KAR remains here and the value has been overridden. So from Karnataka it has changed to Kara. Okay, now to get the values and how to get the keys, there are different functions in Python. So for keys, there is this similar keys function. Sorry, a typo. Okay, and similarly we have values. Okay, so it will give the respective keys and value pair here. And then there is something called as item as a function, items. So it will iterate and give both the keys and the values in it. Okay, like this. Okay, now when we want to retrieve anything from the dictionary, we'll use either the square brackets followed by the key name. Okay, or we can use a get operation on top of it. Okay, so a get operation will return none in case the key is not there. So we'll check one case where the key is not there. Let's say that we are looking for MAR instead of KAR, which is not present here. Okay, so if we print this, it will return us none. Okay, so if you don't want to return none, you can give a conditional statement there. If it is none, then it should print not a state. Okay, so in this case the MAR is not there, so it is printing not a state and not none now. So let's now move on to sets, guys. So sets are mainly used to eliminate repeated numbers in a sequence list, and it is also used to perform some standard set operations, and that are declared by using set function, which will initialize an empty set. And you can also initialize a set using some values to declare set with elements. So we will seeing both the cases here. Let's declare one set. So this is an empty set in our case. We will print it and we will print the type also. Okay, so this will declare an empty set, and if we want to have some elements in it, we can also have that during initialization phase itself using a list. Okay, now we have repeated elements here, so let's see what sets does internally. When we print this, we will see that repeated elements were eliminated and we only have 1 2 3 4 here. Okay, and there were some set methods and some set functions which we commonly use, and they are union, intersection, difference, and symmetric difference. So let's see them one by one. So I will create two sets, set underscore a, and declare some values in it. Have another set, set underscore b, have another set of values in it. Okay, now we will see how the union works. So set underscore a dot union set underscore b. Okay, so guys, union function, it actually what it does is it returns a set which contains all the elements of both the sets without repetition. So you will see both the elements of this sets, and the repeated elements are removed from it. So this is union, and then we will see intersection. So set underscore a dot intersection set underscore b. So what it will do is it will choose common elements between both sets, which are 2 and 3, and it will print it. Okay, now comes the difference. So set underscore a dot difference set underscore b. Okay, so you can see here one is written. So what it does internally is this function outputs a set which contains elements that are in the set 1 and not in set 2. So basically does a minus, so algebraic minus of x and y. So set a minus set b. So the element 1 is present in the first set and which is not in the second list, so it will return that. Then there is something called as symmetric difference. So we'll see that too. So set b dot symmetric underscore difference, we'll say set underscore a. So can you guys just guess what it does internally by looking at the values that it returns? If you know already, can you just please comment below in the comment section? Or if you don't know, I'll tell you in a while. So what it does internally is this function outputs elements that are in either one of the sets but not in both of them. So it will exclude the intersection part of it, but it will include the elements which are unique in both the sets. So you can see here that 1 is unique here, 2 and 3 are repeated, which comes in the intersection part. Okay, so it excludes the 2 and 3 and it gives the rest of the elements from first set and the second set. Clear, guys? So guys, let's now see how to convert a list to set and vice versa. So it is quite simple. We just have to say print set and then this. So you might observe here that all the duplicates like C and B are removed from it. Then we'll convert it back to a list. What you have to do is you can do like this. So this list will also have removed the duplicate elements. Okay. So guys, also let me share an interesting fact about Python. So we will have these fact checked during the end of every session starting this session. So in Python, there can be multiple comparison at once and it is able to check multiple conditions at the same time. While in other programming language, you cannot do so and you cannot change the comparison operators. So let's check how Python handles this situation. So let's say A is equals to 1, B is equals to 2, C is equals to 3. Okay, now in other programming language, I need to do C is greater than B and B is greater than A. Okay, just to check what is greater number in here. Okay, so it returns true as C is greater than B and B is greater than A. But you can simply say in Python, C is greater than B is greater than A. So these two statements are equivalent and Python supports an elegant way of doing it. Okay, so yeah guys, so this is it guys. So I guess you guys have learned the basic operations on different data structures supported by Python today and are ready now to dive deep into Python and write the business logic. So in our next session, we will be learning more about if-else loops and comprehensions functions and something called as MapReduce functions. Okay, so hope you will do enough practice going further as the concepts taught in this session is really important to go further. Thanks guys. If you liked my session, please like, share and subscribe. If you have any doubts or want me to include certain topics, please do leave a comment in the comment section. I will surely respond to my best knowledge. And also please stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much.